Today I'll be talking to Shawn Walters of Bullman Outdoors out of Ohio, inventor of the silent approach steps. We're going to be talking all about the steps, private land in Ohio, along with some land management. Let's get into it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Northeast region's headquarters for hunting-related stories and tactics, sourced from DIY hunters and industry insiders. This is Hunting the Empire. Now here's your host, Joe Mainville.
And welcome back to another episode of the Hunting the Empire podcast. And again, on today's show, I'm going to be joined with Shawn Walters of Bullman Outdoors. And before we get into that, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. I want to talk about today's podcast sponsor, and that is Titanium Archery Products. If you have not been over to look at what Sam has to offer at titaniumarcheryproducts.com, you're missing out. They are performance stabilizer. They work unbelievably well. I stand behind them as a product and Sam as a company 110%. Sam's a great guy, has a lot of passion. If you don't know about Titanium Archery Products or haven't heard anything about them, go to their website, or I think 3 or 4 podcasts ago, I had Sam on the show. And if you listen to that show, you'll find a lot about the products, but also his passion in those products. I mean, this is what he loves. It's kind of cool to meet someone. It's a stabilizer, folks. I mean, you think that it can only get so cool, but Sam really does take it to the next level, and his passion for it and his history with it and kind of how he came to really be that stabilizer guru. Go over and check it out. titaniumarcheryproducts.com. I've talked to so many people about it that once you use one of their stabilizers, you're a believer for life. I mean, I think a lot of people are a little apprehensive, because it is a performance stabilizer. It's going to be more expensive than a piece of rubber that you're buying at your local sporting goods store. But it's an investment. It's well worth it. It's a stabilizer you could have for years, and it's not going to fall apart. It's not going to degrade. It's not going to, whatever. It's titanium. It's strong. It silences your bow. I mean, it does everything a stabilizer claims that it should, and does it really well. So go check them out. Look around on the interweb out there, on Instagram or whatever. See if there's anybody that you know who's using a tap stabilizer. There's a huge community out there of just diehard tap users. See if you know somebody or if you're linked with somebody, and ask them if you can try it out, because those people are so passionate about it that I almost guarantee that if you ask somebody to try out their tap stabilizer, they're going to let you, because they believe in it that much. If you go and want to try one out, Sam's running flash sales all the time over there, giving a whole bunch of discounts off. So, but if you can't catch one of those, because sometimes you can get like 20% off, Sam's got stuff that he's running and whatever, what have you. But if you can't catch one of those sales, they offer us a discount code anytime, and that is HTE15. So that's the letter H, the letter T, the letter E, 15, saves you 15% anytime. So you're welcome to use that. And so we'll hop in today's show. I think it's going to be a good one. We're going to talk about these silent approach steps with Shawn Walters of Bullman Outdoors. He's from Ohio. He hunts some private ground. I think he dabbles a bit in land management. So I think it's going to be a cool conversation that we're going to get a lot out of. If you haven't heard of these silent approach steps, look him up on social media. I know he's got a YouTube channel. He's got some Instagram, and he's on Facebook. But I had stumbled across him, I think through a liked photo or something. I can't remember. Somehow I found him on Instagram. He had popped up, and I saw the steps, and I reached out to him, and I thought they were really cool. They're pretty unique. It's something different. I don't think this is for everybody. I don't think it's a climbing system that everybody's going to want to prescribe to, but it recently, if anybody's been following along, I'm going to be trying out for the first time saddle hunting this year. I'm impatiently awaiting the arrival of my new tethered Mantis and Predator platform, and I'm super excited to give it a try. Currently, I'm going to be using my Lone Wolf sticks because I'm just comfortable with them. I know how they work, and I didn't have to spend any extra money, so I'm going to be giving those a shot. But with the saddle, it kind of got me in a different frame of mind thinking about weight. And I know a lot of Western hunters are like weight gurus, like they're going down to just micro ounces as they're trying to build out their packs and everything that they're going out there to try to go into the backcountry with. But me out here in central New York, I hunt some fairly good sized blocks of timber, but I'm only hiking in, maybe a mile to a mile and a half. I think 2 miles is the furthest I've walked. And while the weight does slow me down a little bit, I guess it never really bothered me. I just kind of took it in stride as part of the process. But with kind of thinking more and more about this saddle hunting, it got me more interested. Words are killing me today. Interested in weight reduction and how I can do that. And, I ended up doing a rope mod, a Garrett Prawl DIY hunter rope mod on my climbing sticks, which I'm really enjoying so far. It's really easy and comfortable, but that's what kind of drew me to these silent approach steps. While there are 12 individual steps, I believe, the total weight of the entire system was like 5 pounds or right around it or something. And I thought that was really cool for the fact that, my Lone Wolf sticks, as much as I absolutely love them, they weigh like 10 pounds. So to be able to shave 5 pounds, I don't know what the give and takes are going to be, on whether the silent approach steps are going to be, could be a full-time use, or maybe that's something where if you're a run and gun style hunter, if you're hiking way back in there, maybe you want something, a light system like this. Well, whereas you're going, maybe a quarter of a mile, 3/4 of a mile off the road or something, maybe you take your set of sticks, or, there's so many different climbing methods out there between, Lone Wolf sticks, muddy sticks, Hawk Helium sticks, and then you got the Wild Edge steps, and then you've got these silent approach steps. And do your research. I think that's the importance of an episode like this. And I know I've gotten a little bit of pushback from folks, not a ton, but enough to make me notice, about some of these, been having a lot of product people on. But I think that's something I set out to do from the beginning. And, I think even my intro says it, is that, I want to talk to hunters, especially focusing on the Northeast, but I want to talk to those industry insiders. And that's who I consider these individuals who've got a product that they're trying to get out there. And regardless of whether I use it or not, so currently I am not a user of these silent approach steps. I've only seen pictures and video of them. I've never seen them in person. I've never tried them. But what you might like is not for me to decide. And just because I'm partnered with Lone Wolf, and I'm a firm believer in Lone Wolf and how great their products are, doesn't necessarily mean that they're perfect for you. So I think it's, don't take these episodes as a recommendation from me telling you that you need to go buy these, because it's not. It's do some research. I can only tell you kind of my experience with them, but as I get these people on to talk about some of these products, use that as part of your research, and then go to some other independent sources. And there's forums all over the place. So like I'm super interested right now in saddle hunting. So I know I've been talking a lot about it, but I'm honestly jacked up over it. I think it's super cool and it's exciting and something different. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's good for you. Maybe you're not interested in it. But if you are, you're able to use some of this information as part of your research, and then go out there and find more more resources to do more research and then find out if that's something that might be right for your hunting style. I think I started using a hashtag on Instagram when I post stuff is hunt your hunt. So I've been using hashtag hunt your hunt, and I think it's been out there, used very little, but maybe I've hijacked it. Because it came to me that I just like the idea of people doing what you want to do, hunt your way. I think that's important, is that, I think in this industry, we tend to idolize people or really just kind of put people's word at the gospel. And some people out there may not be giving you all the correct information, which is why, at least from my point of view, I don't interject with a lot, because I also don't feel like I'm personally a wealth of knowledge. Even though I've got like a broad range of knowledge, I want to bring people on this show that I can learn from, for me to become a better archer and a better bow hunter, and you as well. And really, at the set out of this, at the starting line, I started hunting the Empire because I wanted to highlight, showcase, show off people and products and stuff from the Northeast. And my Northeast is kind of broad. I'm kind of going to Ohio to Maine down to maybe West Virginia or something like that. And who knows? I mean, I might have people outside of what we would encapsulate the Northeast on. I might have them on in the future. I'm not sure where this might go, but if I have them on, it's because I think that information might be valuable to you out there listening. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback about the shows, and coming up on a 1 year of this since the beginning of the show, since I released my first episode here in the next few weeks anyway. So I'm sure we'll get a couple more episodes out, but I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in since the beginning, and everybody who's joined along the way. This past year has been a wild ride, and I've just been kind of hanging on for dear life as we go, but I'm not backing off the pedal. Actually, if anything, I'm really mashing the gas, because we've got a lot of big plans, and I have a lot more shows getting put out, and really just trying to kind of up our game and throw all the chips on the table and see where the dice land. But I appreciate everybody's support out there. I really do, honestly. But I don't want to take any more time yammering on about this stuff. I really want to get Shawn on the line and hear about these silent approach steps. So reach out to me on social media if you want to chat. I had a great chat with a listener the other day. He had messaged me on social media and was asking me a little bit about beast tactics, and he's kind of getting started on public land. And I said, you got time to chat? And I called him right up, and we talked for about an hour. I had a blast talking with him, and it was just a great time. Gave him a little starter information on some places to get going and some stuff to think about. And I hope he appreciated it. I know I did. I love when everybody reaches out to me, and I just really appreciate everybody taking time out of their day to listen to myself, Yabon, and the people that we have on the show. We've had some great guests, so we're going to try to keep that trend alive. So without further ado, let's get Shawn on the line. All right, and we're live. Joe here from the Empire State, reaching out to my buddy Shawn in the Buckeye State. How we doing, Shawn?
Pretty good. How are you, Joe?
Good, man. Appreciate you coming on the show. For anybody who's not familiar with you, Shawn Walters from Bullman Outdoors, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you located kind of geographically in Ohio, and what do you do for a living? And tell us a little bit about Bullman.
Well, I live in southern Ohio in Brown County, and about 10 miles or so north of the river. And I work currently as a supervisor at Formica Corporation. And Bullman Outdoors originally started as working on habitat stuff. I'm real big on deer habitat and conservation and things like that. and I'm kind of a creator and always looking for better ways to do things. And I've been a mobile hunter for over 20 years, I guess. And I just kind of kept trying to get better and easier ways to climb and to be more mobile. And there came a point where I couldn't find anything better, so I thought I'd try to create something. So I came up with the climbing system, the Silent Approach climbing system, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
All right. How long, I guess we'll touch base quick on the Silent Approach stuff, and I'm sure we'll come back to it because I want to hear a little bit more about your hunting and kind of this land management side too. But tell us a little bit, how long ago was it that you kind of came up with these Silent Approach steps?
Well, probably close to 5 years ago is when I decided that I wanted to try to create an easier way to climb. I had the way I was hanging my tree stand was with this rope called hollow braided poly rope, and it was really quiet. And I had intentions of creating a step using that hollow braided poly rope, but just for maybe a year and a half or so, I was kind of just kicking the idea around in my head, trying to come up with something. And I came up with a like a metal step, kind of a hook on that rope, but it just didn't work very well. So I took it to a friend of mine that had an injection molding factory and talked to him about it. And we kind of went a different direction, and he put a block on a strap, and I was dead set against it initially. I just didn't think it would work, but he wouldn't quit talking about it. So I thought, well, we'll go and try it so he would quit talking about it. And I stepped on it, and it was rock solid. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. So I took the block and kind of ran from there. And I had a set machine initially and had a couple different design issues that I had to work with. There was a hinging issue. And so I was probably a year or so working on the design and kind of getting the kinks out. And it was probably a year and a half or so from the time we, changed to using a block from the metal steps till I actually had a product. I had to have a mold made, and I had to find the right buckle and the right strap that I wanted to use. It was a really long process, and I didn't have any background in doing that kind of stuff, so I was learning everything that I was doing along the way. So it took a lot longer than I had anticipated, but when we finally come up with the product, and I've probably been, after I actually came up with the product, then there was times when I would climb and it would work, and I would be really happy, and then there was times I would climb and I wouldn't be happy, and it took me a little while to figure out the exact issues and how to work around them, and it took me probably close to a year to figure out the little nuances that were causing me problems. And so it's probably close to 3 years that I've been from the beginning to where we are now.
Wow, no kidding. Yeah, it sounds like it's definitely a journey, and it sounds like it's kind of just really starting to take off for you now. So I'm excited to see where that leads. I want to back up a little bit though, and kind of maybe talk about what led you up to that point, and starting to think about those steps and the tools that you were using, because I'm going to assume it sounds like you're a fairly run and gun style hunter.
Yeah, I like hunting a lot of different stand locations. I'll hunt different for wind, especially. The wind's constantly changing directions, and you generally need different stands for different winds. And there's the first time sit factor. There's a large majority percentage of mature bucks are killed on the first sit. So the more you can hunt new stand locations, the more you raise that factor. And so, when I first started hunting, I hunted the same stand every day and didn't see deer after about a week of doing that. And then I discovered about, hunting the wind. And so that's initially what caused me to, want to hunt different stands. But yeah, now I pretty much, I have 43 acres that I own that I hunt on, and I have probably maybe 8 or 10 stands hung throughout that property, and I don't have any steps in them. So I leave my stands hung in different places, and then I'll just pack in one set of steps to get up and down from each of those stands. And then if I hunt public land, I'll just, hang a stand wherever. And it's just a run and gun style, as they say, or the hang and hunt, I guess, depending on where you're from.
Yeah, or go and bow. I've heard so many different terms on it. So you're out there in Ohio, and I want to pick your brain a little bit, and because I'm going to be going to Ohio to hunt this year for the first time, and I'm really excited about it. But do you hunt? What part of the state are you in?
I'm in the southern Brown County.
All right, excellent. Or I know you've got land that you own and hunt. Do you hunt anything else besides? Do you do any public land, or is it just your private?
I'll hunt public land a little bit, but I've mainly just been hunting my property. I look to kind of expand a little bit and hunt some more private farms this year. But I think with the way Ohio's set up for out-of-state hunters, and with the fact that we have giant bucks, and I think we're the number 3 state for Boone and Crockett, and we get a lot of out-of-state people coming in. So I was going to venture out and try to hunt more public land this year, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and find some new private farms instead.
How hard is that around you? Have you tried doing that before? I know here in New York, I do farm consulting, and even though I'm on farms all the time, I find it difficult here in central New York to try to gain at least any permissions. They're definitely willing to let you hunt if you open up your wallet, but I'm not willing. So how is it out there in Ohio, especially being such a big buck state, and it's so pressured from us out-of-staters who want to come in? Is it difficult to find permissions there?
Well, around the house, I'll hunt, or I'll ask permission for farms, fairly close to the house. And usually I'll try to have some sort of some way that I can be connected. And it's a little easier, if you're from the area and their neighbor, or someone, so usually I'm not blind asking, but there, times that I do, the percentages aren't real high, but it's just kind of like being a door-to-door salesman. You knock on enough doors and you'll find permission. It just depends on, how much effort you want to put into it.
Yeah. How long have you owned your property? I know you said you do like land management stuff. I'm assuming you must have done some management on your property. How long have you been there?
I've had my property for a little over 10 years, I guess, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay. What kind of improvements have you made on it since you moved there?
Well, I've had some logs cut off of it, and that opens up the canopy. But I've done a lot of work in the woods, as far as hinge cuts, opening up the canopy, let sunlight in, creating bedding areas in different areas, small bedding areas, and I've cleared some areas in the front. And I've planted some food plots inside the woods, which was difficult and didn't work the greatest. But then I've planted some food plots outside in the fields, and I just actually finished an easement with the USDA. It was called the Wetlands Reserve Program. I'm not sure exactly what it's called now, but they take an area and then they restore it to a wetland type of environment. So that's what the latest thing that we've done. And I'm really excited to have that grow up. They're planting it in native grasses, and I anticipate it's about a 7-acre field. It's 10 acres altogether that's in the easement, but 7 acres is a field, and they it's going to grow up in native grasses, and they planted dogwoods and things like that in there. And it's an area where the deer already run through to cross the road from my woods to the woods across the pretty excited about it, actually.
Yeah. What do you think that area is going to hold the deer there more, or is it still going to be just like a travel corridor?
I think they'll probably end up bedded there.
Okay.
There was last year. It was probably the second week in November, and I was coming out of the woods, walking towards the house, and I saw a rack bedded down in that field, probably 75, maybe 100 yards from the house, and it just bedded right down in the middle of that field. Had weeds about 1.5 feet tall or so, and I tried to sneak up and stalk up to the buck, and I thought he was bedded down there, but I guess he just kind of snuck out. So, but I actually found an antler up by the water's edge a little bit earlier. So I think they're spending more time in their bedded than I know, but they're just moving at dark. But yeah, I think it should probably end up being a pretty good bedding area.
Cool. Well, I'll be excited to see after you get your wetland restorated there on kind of how that grows up, and you'll have to post some pictures about it. I'd be curious to see what it comes out looking like.
Definitely.
Well, so you said that the Bullman Outdoors started as kind of land management stuff. How long have you been? Do you do that just for you, or have you been doing that for other people as well?
Well, I'm just for me now. That was the plan, was to move forward doing that in the future, and I still do have plans to do that in the future. I grow native trees from seed. Also, I've been growing persimmons and chestnuts and I grow apples and pears. I grow all kinds of mast, soft mast and hard mast for deer. Not all of those from seed, but the persimmons and chestnuts I've been growing from seed. But I do plan on getting into that in the future. But with starting this business, with this climbing system, and I've been trying to create a ton of content. It's taken all of the time that I have. So there's projects that I've been wanting to do in the woods this year that I just haven't been able to because I've been so busy, working on this climbing system.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I guess let's kind of dive into the climbing system, and we'll talk a little bit about it. And I'd kind of like to let's talk about the system, and then kind of outline maybe some benefits and stuff for either your run and gun style hunter or like a private land versus public land, and kind of dissect them as we go through. But I guess if you want to, you've talked a little bit about kind of the conception of this hunting system. I guess so. It's gone through a number of refinements to a finished product. I guess if you can talk a little bit about it now, kind of what the system is comprised of and what you've learned from it. I know you said you've released a bunch of content, kind of given tips and stuff as you've learned more about it as you've gone through and used it exclusively, it sounds like. So
yeah,
I guess go ahead and take a minute and kind of touch on some of that.
Well, the concept, it's a fanny pack, except it's actually 2 packs that's on one belt, and there's 12 steps total. There's 6 steps in each bag, and the first 4 steps that you'll use have 6-foot straps. That's a tree that you reach your arms around it. If you're a good-sized fellow, that's about 6 feet. So if you can reach your arm around the base of the tree, then you can get these steps on there. But and in the bag there's a plastic liner that keeps the bag open, and there's slots that hold the steps, that keep the steps in place while you're when you open up the bag. And that's kind of the concept. There are plastic steps on straps, and they're super lightweight, and it's a really convenient system. They're right there at your waist. There's zippers on the front on each side, and I'll have my hand pruners in one pocket. I'll have a folding hand saw in the other pocket. And once you're up in the tree, then you can attach the bag around the tree, and there's a place to put clips where you can hang your bow or hang other stuff. And I just think it's just a really convenient way and a super lightweight way to climb.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of it on your Instagram account, and I've watched a couple of the videos on it, and it definitely looks pretty small and fairly compact.
Hmm.
So how many steps are there?
There's 12 steps.
Okay.
Hmm.
And so they all fit into this fanny pack. And what's
Hmm.
the weight total between those 12 steps, straps, and then I guess the fanny pack that goes with it?
It's 5 pounds, 3 ounces.
Oh, no kidding. Wow, that's significantly lighter than a lot of stick systems out there.
Yeah, it saves a bunch of weight.
Now, let me ask you. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is that I'm a stick hunter myself. I use a set of Lone Wolf sticks. I've got
Hmm.
4 of them. So, the first thing that comes to my mind is there a time difference from if you're using a set of sticks or if you're putting on 12 individual steps? How long does it
Hmm.
take you to get up to the tree?
Well, I've used the system a lot, and I've practiced a pretty good bit. But I can be in a pre-hung tree stand that's 18 feet in less than 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes.
Wow.
And with my climbing sticks, I used them for about 2 years. I wasn't crazy about practicing and trying to be faster and faster, but I'm a lot faster with these things than I was at climbing with the sticks. And the big thing is I can just walk up to the tree with the steps around my waist and my tree stand on my back and just head straight up the tree and hang a stand. I don't, I tie my bow up, tie the rope on my leg, and just go up the tree, hang my stand, and just pull my bow up. It's just one trip, up the tree, and you don't have to unpack anything. You don't have to, like with sticks on your stand on your back, you have to take your stand off once you get to the tree, and you have to take your steps apart and kind of organize them, whatever however you're putting them on your waist, or if they're, I guess the stick talons are a little better for that. But, the way I had to take my stuff off, and most guys, they'll take their stuff off and kind of get it organized. And then once you get back down the tree, then you have to put it all back together. And the same thing with these, when you climb back down the tree, your tree stand's already on your back. And you just, once you get that last step put away, you're ready to go.
Okay. So I want to try to give a visual out there, I guess, if I'm envisioning this right, and correct me if I'm not as I'm going through it. Just because I want to get the listeners an idea of kind of picturing you or, them going up a tree or down a tree using these steps. So you're wearing a fanny pack that has 2 pouches. And inside are these steps with the straps attached to them. So then as you're going up the tree, you're just pulling out those steps and then going up, and then obviously on the way back down, you're just piling them all back in the pouches and then working your way down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there like a specific spacing or something that you need? I know with 12 individual steps, it must be it kind of varies on how tall somebody is or how high you can get or something like that.
Right. Yeah. One of the big things that I wanted to try to do is I wanted to make an easy way to climb the tree. And one of the things that I've discovered is if you take your steps about the distance from your foot to your knee, that's a comfortable step. Your leg is that's just about how far your leg is designed to move. And if you keep your steps as far as the horizontal distance about the width of your hips, then as you're standing there, you keep your body straight up and down. And it's really comfortable. You can actually, there was a time when I walked to my tree stand, and it was a pretty good piece back through the woods. And when I got there, I had started to sweat a little bit, and I had kind of elevated my breathing a little bit. And I don't like to sweat when I'm out in the woods if I can help it. And I started climbing the tree, and by the time I got up and hung my stand, I had actually lowered my heart rate. And that's the thing. If you climb correctly and you stand correctly, you you spend very little energy because you're basically just standing, and then you put 2 steps on and you take 2 steps up, and there isn't any strain as long as you have your steps placed correctly. And, there was times when I would hang climbing sticks where you're hanging off the side of the tree and you're struggling and you're sweating, and man, it was really uncomfortable. And I'm really happy with what I've discovered with these steps and how little energy it takes.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that you're going to be, I'm envisioning this where you're fairly tight up to that tree. And what part of your foot are you using when you're stepping on this thing? Because I'm thinking like a small step like that, could it get uncomfortable underneath your foot if you've basically got your weight on, I'm thinking primarily on one foot as you're trying to hang at least 1 or 2 more steps above you?
It can get uncomfortable. If you're standing there for a long time on one step, it can get uncomfortable. But as I've gotten quicker, that isn't an issue. But the thing, you'll stand with all your weight on one foot, and you'll put up 2 steps. Then you'll take those 2 steps up, and all your weight will be on that same 1 foot again. And if it gets uncomfortable standing on that 1 foot, then all you have to do is just take 1 step up, and now all your weight is on the other foot, and you can put steps on that way. So you can kind of alternate the weight that your foot's on. But once you practice a little bit and you get good using the steps, and you learn where they need to be on the tree as far as the lean's concerned, then it's not an issue. I don't switch feet anymore. I'll just go straight up and hang my stand.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like after you've got a little practice with them that it really doesn't take that long. So I'm thinking that, at first there might be a learning curve to try to figure out how to make it as comfortable as possible. But then once you kind of got it down and have a good idea of how it comes together, that you kind of move through it fairly quick. So you're not taking enough time to get uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. And I've, over a year, I've done, R&D climbing a ton of trees to figure out, how it needs to, how you need to step on them. And, I've put a lot of videos on the YouTube channel and tried to be as detailed as I can, where a guy shouldn't have to take, I would think a guy could go up and down the tree 3 or 4 times and should have a pretty solid understanding where they should be able to, I would think they could get up 20 feet in probably 7 minutes or less, I would think, after a few tries. Okay.
And so the system comes with 12 steps. Do those 12 steps get you to 20 feet or even beyond that?
I'm 6 foot. I can't think of the distance from my foot to my knee currently, but I will get right at just slightly over 20 feet with 12 steps.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is that going basically all the way to your top step and then level with your platform, or are you stepping like up onto your platform?
No, it's stepping across to your platform.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I see as a benefit so far is just that weight reduction from other climbing methods.
Right.
And then having the capabilities of it kind of being right on your person. Now, do you leave those on you? I guess like the fanny pack, do you leave it on you in stand, or what do you do with it?
No, once you get in the stand, I'll take the fanny pack off and attach it around the tree. And then basically you have two empty pockets, and I'll use that to, like, I'll put extra gloves in there. And I have a little hook on there, like a little climbing hook on there, and I'll hang my quiver on one of the hooks. I use it as basically as a storage compartment. And it works really good that way.
Do you see, I'm assuming it's some sort of like webbed strap that goes around it that attaches it to the tree?
Yeah, it's a polypropylene strap.
Is there enough strength to the components of that to incorporate some kind of bow holder?
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm just so I'm going to be dabbling in saddle hunting this upcoming year, and so I have to kind of rethink the entire way I hunt. And I know
Right.
a bow holder, because obviously the bow is going to be in front of you instead of kind of off to a side or something. Or so I'm trying to envision kind of just making even a compact system out of the steps, and how saddle hunters could really benefit from this kind of system as well.
Yeah, the fanny pack, when I use it as storage in a tree, it's usually around head high or so. That way I can, or just maybe neck high. That way I can get to my things in there. And usually my bow, I'll have my bow up, the hook be up a little bit higher. I usually don't hang my bow on that strap because then it would actually put my handle down lower. And I like to be able to just reach straight out with my bow. That way I don't have to go up or down once I pick the bow up.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. How did you start becoming mobile? So even though you've got your own private ground, what kind of led you to not setting up permanent stands and just kind of really kind of doing that run and gun thing?
Well, initially the lack of success was what started. And I guess from the beginning I've been an avid reader, and with my lack of success, and then I kept reading about the wind. You have to hunt the wind and be hunt more locations, and so ultimately it was the wind. Trying to hunt the wind that led me to becoming mobile. And I wanted to hunt, I had more places that I wanted to hunt than I had tree stands. So I didn't really have an option but to be mobile. I had 10 places I wanted to put stands, but I only had 3 stands. So, I didn't have an option. So I had the little Ameristep 3-fold screw-in steps, and I had a binocular case that was like a hard binocular case. And I could fit 12 of those steps really nice in that binocular case. And I carried that around my chest, and I had a lock-on lem. It's a super light stand that they used to make here in Ohio. And I had used the hollow braided poly rope to attach the stand to the tree, and that was super quiet and really easy to attach. And so that was how I did it.
So how has your system changed now since incorporating your solid approach steps? Do you think that you've got a better system now than when you first started kind of going mobile with things?
I probably don't hunt a whole lot different. The big difference is I don't screw into trees anymore. And I have learned about the placement. I remember hanging off the side of the trees just dripping sweat because my foot placement, my feet would be spread out, or they'd be, they wouldn't be straight in line. So instead of just standing straight and comfortable on the tree, I have one leg kind of cocked out, and you're not standing perpendicular, and you're fighting to stay centered. And so the comfortable factor, that's probably the biggest one. And I'm a lot quicker than I was screwing those steps in, and it's quieter also. These steps are plastic, and those metal steps would kind of bang around a little bit, and it's pretty quiet. If you take a little bit of extra time, you can be nearly silent putting these things up.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I think about with these steps is that they are public land friendly. Because I know at least here in New York, I'm not sure, and even in Pennsylvania, I hunt down there, you can't use screw-in steps on public land. So this is a great public land option for anybody out there looking for a lightweight setup. Right.
And, carrying them around your waist, if you're talking about walking a long distance, they're around your waist. You don't have anything catching on the tree. If you have you carry your climbing sticks on your back or on your tree stand, and you're trying to get through brush. You'll have brush catching on your climbing sticks and catching on your tree stand. And with these things around your waist, they're just really compact, and you can, they're not going to do anything far as, making noise when you're walking through even the thickest brush.
Okay. What, so they're made out of plastic. What's the weight rating on each step? Because I know you're putting quite a bit of weight on an individual step as you're kind of hanging other ones. So what, is there a weight rating on those?
We have rated the steps for 275 pounds.
Okay.
The weakest link would be the strap, and it has about a 1,500 pound brake rating. So it's, it can hold a tremendous amount more than we have rated it for. But yeah. 275 is what we have them rated for.
Okay. Do you think these steps would hold up for someone who kind of does permanent sets, like if they bought multiples and left them out there on trees and stuff? Will they hold up to that kind of weather, or are they more designed to be kind of taken in and taken down and out with you when you go?
Yeah, I don't recommend leaving them out. I hung a set last year and left them all year, left them through winter, and I went and left them through part of the heat. And I went out maybe a month ago and jumped up and down on one of them trying to break it, and I couldn't, and it really didn't even affect the strap, to be honest. But they're designed to be taken up, to be putting up and down each hunt, because leaving your stuff out there in the elements, it really, especially those straps, it really breaks them down over time, and the buckle too. And it's just not a good idea, I don't think, to leave that stuff up, for extended periods of time. For, a short amount of time, but a lot of times when people leave stuff out there, they end up leaving it all year. And that's just a bad idea for anything, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the best practice and its design is that it's you're taking it in with you and pulling it down and taking it back out with you. Right.
Yeah. That's how that's the design, definitely.
Okay. So you've used them exclusively for at least a year now?
Yeah, last year I used them exclusively last year. And then the year before, I think I got them somewhere around November. And I hunted with them, all then too. I haven't used anything except for these for a year and a half. And I don't believe that I will. I can't imagine why I would use anything else, to be honest.
Yeah. So I guess starting from when you got them to now, what do you, and kind of thinking about folks listening who might be interested in trying out some, what do you think that the biggest learning curve for you was to really become successful with them?
Well, the spacing, as far as, the distance from your foot to your knee, learning to keep the horizontal distance about the distance of your hip so you can stand straight up and down on the tree. But then the other big thing that I've learned is you need to learn how to read trees themselves. When a tree almost always leans one way or another, trees, generally don't just grow straight. And when you're climbing a tree and when you're hanging a stand, you want to hang your stand on what they call the force side of the tree, which is kind of the tree that's the part of the tree that's not closest to the ground. It's kind of hard to describe just with words, but you also want to climb up that side of the tree. So you're kind of climbing on the side. If the tree were to fall, you would be standing on the side that wouldn't hit the ground.
Yep.
That's the side of the tree you need to climb. And then that's also the side of the tree that you need to hang your stand on. And, in the past, there'd be times I would hang stands or I would try to climb, and you hang a stand and it's just not as solid as you would like it to be. And I think that a lot of times that what happens is people don't realize that this tree is leaning just a little bit the wrong direction, and it really causes problems.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So basically you're looking to have, I guess I would call it like the face of the tree. So it's the opposite side of the gravity side.
Right.
So, and you're basically wanting to make sure that your steps and you are square to that side of the tree as you're going up it, not kind of getting on the side at all.
Right. Yeah. And then when you get to the point where you're going to hang your stand, then you kind of end up moving slightly around to get to the side of your stand, because you want your stand also hung on that face or slightly off to either side. But you can cheat it a little bit one way or another, but you're gonna know your stand's not going to be as solid, and your steps or your sticks, they're not going to be as solid either, because when you're not on that face of the tree and the tree is leaning the wrong direction, when you step straight down on your step, you're not able, the bottom of the step or the bottom of your stick or the bottom of your stand, it's not able to catch into the tree and to form a solid connection to the tree, because it's facing the wrong direction, and it kind of, it just kind of ends up floating a little bit into the air.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you're stepping down on that to give, like, you're saying that rock solid connection there, is there like a best practice of like what part of your foot you're using, or does it not matter?
It definitely matters. You want to have your foot as close to the tree as possible. The steps are they're about 3 3/4 inches, and the Amera steps, they were actually a little smaller than that, and there were some other steps that were smaller than that. So when I designed these steps, I designed them around the same size, but slightly bigger than steps I had used in the past. But as long you want to keep your foot as close to the tree as possible, and then step around the ball of your foot, and then that'll give you a good solid footing.
Okay. Is there a trying to think of how I want to say it. Is there a specific, or any, I guess, in your testing? So I know you said you've done a bunch of testing on different trees. Are there better like species of trees that work well with them than others? Like if you did like a shagbark hickory or a maple or something like that. Is there trees that they work better on than others?
I would never recommend climbing a shagbark hickory. I've done it before, but it's a terrible idea. But they're a tree with harder bark or thinner bark probably works better, and that's probably this. It's pretty much whether you're using climbing sticks or hanging a stand. But trees with thinner, shallower grooves of bark will work better. And there's one kind of tree, and it has really thick and deep, soft bark. And I don't have I think it could be a locust, but I don't have those growing where I'm at. And I haven't been able to try one of those. But I did climb a pignut hickory the other day, and it had deep and soft bark. And I thought that there was a chance that it would cause issues, because when you step on the steps, they'll slide down until they hit a bottom point, and then you'll step up on the steps, and then occasionally it'll slide down, and the bottom has the potential, at least, of catching, and it can cause like a hinging factor.
Oh, okay.
But that didn't happen, and so yeah, that tree was good. So I haven't found one that it hasn't worked favorably.
Okay, that makes sense. We've covered a lot about the silent approach system. Is there anything else about it that it's important for you to get, to tell people out there about it?
I don't think so off the top of my head. It's just I'm extremely happy with it. And talking about the SaddleHunters, the weight is the big thing. And for me, I can't, to buy a saddle that weighs a pound and then to carry 12 or 15 pounds of steps around, that seems, kind of counterproductive.
Now I feel like you're making a jab at me here.
No, definitely not. But I mean, and I think if guys try these steps out, I think they'll be, they'll end up being surprised at, how well they work.
I know they definitely intrigued me when I first, and I don't even know how I ran across them. Somewhere on social media. I don't know if it was a sponsored thing or if they just came up on a hashtag or something that I follow. But I know the first time I saw them, I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And then I saw the weight, mass weight of them, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty light, and it seems like a really interesting system. So I'm excited to talk to you about them and kind of learn some more. For everybody out there who might be interested in picking up a set of the silent approach steps, where can they go to look at the details of them and kind of the offerings of it?
Outdoors.com is the website, www.bullmanoutdoors.com. That's the website. And we have a YouTube channel, also Bullman Outdoors Silent Approach. That's the YouTube channel if they want to check out videos. But they can check us out.
At the website, what kind of options are there for people to try them out? Do you have to buy a full set, or do you have kind of like a trial pack or something?
Yeah, we did create a 2-step option. That way, if someone, they think, wow, this looks neat, but I'm not sure, it'd be nice if we could try some out. There's an option. You can buy 2 steps, and you can buy 2 steps and try them out. And if you like the way they feel and you want to buy a climbing system, then I'll take the cost of those 2 steps off of the climbing system, and I'll ship 10 steps and the climbing system and, take the cost of those out. So it's almost like a free trial if you end up buying the climbing system.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's cool to have that option to be able to kind of try them out before making the whole purchase on them. Is there any kind of warranty on them?
Well, if you're not happy with them, I will give your money back. I don't have it formally, but I have, when I first came out with them, someone bought 6 steps and they didn't like them and they sent them back and I sent their money back. So
fair enough.
Yeah, if people try them out and they don't like them, I don't want you to keep something you don't like.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. It just popped in my mind randomly, but, where can people find more about, Bullman Outdoors and the silent approach steps and stuff on social media? I know you've got some accounts out there.
I have a Facebook page, Bullman Outdoors Silent Approach, and we have an Instagram account that's also Bullman Outdoors.
Okay.
And then the YouTube channel also.
Yeah, I know. I looked at a couple of videos on the YouTube channel. It looks like you've got some good content there to kind of show the beginnings and kind of some tips and tricks for anybody who are looking to give them a try.
Yeah, and I've started a thing I'm trying to do every week called the Weekly Climb, and I'm going through and I'm climbing different trees and looking at the different nuances. Like you can have rotten places in trees that causes humps and kind of going over, how to read a tree and how to look to set stands and where to set stands and stuff like that, just to kind of try to help out guys that haven't, climbed a whole bunch of trees, and even guys that have. I mean, I climbed a lot of trees in my life, and just since I've really started climbing a ton of trees with this climbing system, have I discovered, what it was before that made me uncomfortable. So I'm going to try to share that with guys, and guys that even have climbed, there's, I hope to have things on there that can help, just about everybody of all skill levels.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a cool idea to put that information out there to people. Well, we've been yabbing here for a while, and I really appreciate your time, and I want to be sensitive to, I know you're getting out of work and want to probably get into the family and stuff. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and talk about your climbing system and hunting and everything in general. So,
well, I appreciate the opportunity. It's been really nice talking to you.
There we have it. Another episode in the books. Thanks to Shawn for coming on the show. Really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. Shawn was on his drive home from work, so we kind of talked while he was commuting, and then he was sitting in his driveway towards the end of it. So, Shawn, I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time talking with me about your silent approach climbing system. I will, for anybody listening, I will put a link to all of Shawn's information for his social medias and his website where you can find out more information about this silent approach climbing system in the show notes. So please go on there and take a look. If you found any of this information helpful, and even any information from past podcasts or our articles, if you've been on huntingtheempire.com or anything like that, please share. We're trying to get the word out about Hunting the Empire. We're going to have a lot more information coming down the line, and we're going to be, as we get back into kind of this hunting season, we're kind of in the off season, but I know people are really starting to think about it with trail cameras starting to go out now and everything like that. So I think people are starting to get the October itch or the November itch or whatever time of the year you start. Maybe September if you're lucky enough, those velvet bucks. That's cool. But anyway, please share the episodes. Just share one thing that you find value in with somebody else who you think might find value in it. And maybe they don't know about the show and you'd be helping them, but also be helping me a lot. And I'd really appreciate that. I want to get the word out about it. I think we've had some awesome guests and they deserve more people listening to them. So please just share one of those. Please go on and share our articles too. I've got awesome people on our Hunting the Empire team, and they're all contributing content to huntingtheempire.com. So if you haven't been on there to read any of the articles that are on there, you're missing out, because there's tactics, there's gear reviews, there's wild game recipes, there's habitat management. There is so much on huntingtheempire.com. If you're looking for anything hunting and fishing related, we've got it on there. We've got articles, we've got videos, we've got the podcasts and everything else. So please check out huntingtheempire.com. Share it with somebody who you might think find value in also. Please also, the last thing I'll say, if you're finding these podcasts valuable, take a couple of minutes to go on to wherever you get your podcast from and leave a rating and a review. If you don't know how to do it, but you feel compelled to, which that would be awesome. If you don't know how to do it, shoot me a message and I'll help you through it. I may not know how to do it, but I'll try to figure it out. I think it's fairly easy. But what I will do is I am holding in my hand now a fresh pack of our first run Hunting the Empire decals. They're a little sticker. You might have seen them on my social media. I just posted something about them a day or two ago. What I'll do is that if you go on and leave Hunting the Empire a rating and a review, and then you shoot me a message, and I go on and see that you did, then I'll ship you out one of those decals for nothing. Just for taking the time to go on and leave me a rating and review, because I'd really appreciate that. And then I'll ship you out one of these decals. So please do, and that would be awesome of you. And again, I really appreciate everybody who tuned in. Thanks to Shawn, and we'll close this one out. So until next time, Joe out.